Story 1. The Woman at the Window. It was one of those nights where the thunder doesn't just rumble, it shakes the whole house. The kind of storm that makes you grateful to be inside. I live in a small rural town, surrounded by trees and open land. That night, rain was slamming against the windows, wind howling like it was alive. I had just made myself a cup of tea, planning to wait out the storm with a blanket and my favorite show. Around 11 p.m., the power went out. Everything went black. No TV, no lights, not even the faint hum of the fridge. Just silence and the distant sound of thunder. I grabbed my phone to use the flashlight and went around checking the doors, just out of habit. That's when I noticed it, muddy footprints near the back door. They weren't mine. At first. I thought maybe they'd been there earlier and I just hadn't seen them. But the mud looked fresh. Still wet. I tried to shake it off. Told myself it was nothing. But when lightning flashed through the kitchen window for a split second, I saw something outside. A shape. Someone standing just beyond the tree line. I froze, staring into the dark, trying to convince myself it was just a shadow or a trick of the light. But then came the knock. 3 slow, heavy knocks on the glass. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Another flash of lightning, and this time I saw her clearly. A woman. Soaked from head to toe, her hair sticking to her face, eyes wide and glassy. She was smiling, but something about that smile felt wrong. I hesitated for what felt like forever, my heart pounding so loud it drowned out the storm. Then she lifted her hand again, pressed it to the glass, and whispered something I couldn't hear. When thunder crashed again, she was gone. No footsteps. No figure running away. Nothing but rain. The next morning, when the storm had passed, I went outside to check. There were muddy footprints leading up to my window, and then stopping. No prints leading away, just gone. I called my neighbor later that day to tell him what happened. He went quiet for a moment, then said, "You sure it wasn't a dream? 'Cause the woman who used to live at your place, she died right there, near that same window. During a storm. About 10 years ago. I haven't looked out that window at night since." My name's Daniel, and I work as an overnight security officer for a large office complex downtown. It's not a bad job. Quiet most nights, easy pay, and a few cameras to keep an eye on. But one stormy night last year changed the way I see this place forever. It was a Friday night, and the thunder had been rolling in since sunset. By 11:30, it hit full force, rain hammering the windows, wind howling through the cracks, and lightning lighting up the lobby like a strobe light. I was sitting in the control room, watching the monitors. Most of the building was dark, just the emergency lights glowing faintly in the halls. Then, out of nowhere, one of the motion sensors blinked red. Camera 4, East Hallway. That hall's always empty after hours. Cleaning staff were long gone, and no one else had clearance to be there. I zoomed in, thinking maybe it was a flicker from the storm. But then, I saw it. A figure. Tall, standing completely still in the middle of the hall. They were facing the camera, or maybe the monitor. I couldn't tell. Their head tilted slightly, like they knew I was watching. At first, I thought maybe it was a trick of the light, reflections from lightning maybe. But then they moved. Slowly, stepping closer to the lens. I grabbed my flashlight and radio, called my partner on the upper floor, but he didn't answer. I tried again. Nothing but static. The power flickered, and for a split second, all the cameras cut out. When they came back on, the hallway was empty. I decided to check it myself. I hate admitting this, but my hands were shaking the entire elevator ride down. When I reached the east hallway, it was quiet except for the storm pounding against the glass doors. The floor was wet, muddy footprints leading straight down the corridor. Barefoot ones. I followed them until they stopped right beneath the camera. And then, nothing. They didn't turn around, didn't lead anywhere. Just stopped cold. The air suddenly felt colder. My flashlight flickered. I turned to leave, and that's when I saw it, a reflection on the glass door behind me. Someone was standing right next to me. I spun around. No one was there. But on the glass, I could see the faint outline of a handprint sliding slowly down, as if someone invisible was pressing from the other side. I ran back to the control room and locked the door. My partner came back on the radio minutes later, swearing he hadn't heard me call earlier. When we reviewed the footage the next day, that section of the tape was completely blank. Every other camera recorded fine, except camera 4. Story 3. The building that wasn't empty. My name's Ryan, and a few years ago, I worked as a mobile security guard. Basically, we'd patrol multiple sites each night, warehouses, construction zones, office buildings, just to make sure everything was locked and quiet. I'd been on the job for about 2 months when this happened. It was a stormy night in mid-October, heavy thunder, lightning that lit up the sky like a camera flash every few seconds, and rain so loud I could barely hear my radio. My supervisor, Alan, and I were assigned to check an old 3-story office building on the edge of town. It had been vacant for almost a year, waiting for renovations, but alarms had been going off randomly during storms. So our boss sent us to make sure nothing was being damaged. We pulled up around 1 a.m. The building was pitch black, except for one small light glowing from the second floor. Alan shrugged it off, saying it was probably a motion light. Still, the air felt wrong. Inside, it smelled of dust and wet carpet. Every footstep echoed down the halls. The only sound was the rain against the roof and the faint buzz of that one light upstairs. Alan told me to check the lower floors while he went up. I started my round, doors locked, windows secured. Nothing unusual until I reached the back stairwell. The door was slightly open. I pushed it gently, and a cold breeze hit me. The light in the stairwell was flickering, and somewhere above, I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate. I radioed Alan, no response. Tried again, static. So, against every instinct, I started climbing. Second floor, empty hallway, just that one light buzzing overhead. Then I heard it, a door creaking open down the hall. Alan? I called out. Nothing. I followed the sound to an office with its door halfway open. Inside was dark, except for lightning flashing through the window. For a split second, I saw someone sitting at a desk, a man wearing a uniform just like mine. I stepped closer. But when the next flash came, the chair was empty. That's when Alan's voice finally crackled through the radio, panicked, shouting, "Ryan! Get out! There's someone in the building!" I bolted toward the stairs. On my way down, I caught something in the reflection of a glass door, a tall figure standing at the bottom, facing up toward me. But here's the thing. As I reached the bottom, the door was still locked from the inside. No one could have gotten in. Alan met me outside, drenched, eyes wide. He said he'd checked the security feed from the van. The light on the second floor? It wasn't motion activated. It had been turned on manually. Just minutes before we arrived, when maintenance came the next morning, they found muddy footprints all over the second floor, leading straight to that same office, and stopping right in front of the desk. We quit a few weeks later. Alan said he'd had enough of chasing ghosts in the rain. Me? I still think about that man at the desk, the one I saw sitting there in the lightning flash, because sometimes, when it storms, I swear I can still picture his face. And it looks just like mine.